should have been brought out front more, you know? I didn't even see it right away.
Get me going in that. Okay, how's that?
Good morning, Rob.
I'm sorry, would you like a bead? Hi, welcome to Mardi Gras. Would you like a bead?
She's saying she's getting the itch for babysitting.
Who is?
Thank you.
There she is. There's my grandma. Grandma, I told them.
The last time we went to that crawfish nest, this guy was wearing beads.
Oh, there's
Thing with Gilbert. Nobody likes to show off that stuff.
This must be your son, right?
My son, Christopher.
Hi, Arlene Freeling.
My son, Christopher. His wife, Stacy.
Yes, we've met before.
I'm not the daughter. I'm going to be the sister-in-law.
She's introduced me as a sister-in-law.
So I was like,
My cousin.
Whatever.
they're selling oh, no, because I don't have any shiny ones. I have a black and a pink one. Dice for this. You'll allow one bean per person. I'll give it back.
How are you?
Good.
Look at all these gals. I'm going to do a blurb here in about 2 minutes. I'm going to take Andrea over here by that wall and just talk to her for a while.
PA systems for you. But the Friends of the Waldwick Library are happy to welcome you to the spirit of New Orleans Mardi Gras. It's a salute and organized as a tribute, as you know, from right here in Waldwick, New Jersey, to those recovering from Katrina. And we've all heard that down the Gulf Coast. But our program today is culture, is art, music, and I call your attention to the greeting lady, a fabulous, talented artist, nationally known, and Waldwick's own. I'm talking about Andrea Mistretta, who composed through these for the last 20 years for New Orleans. And this year is the 21st year. And you know there's devastation down there. Andrea went ahead with it. Even the firm, the warehouse where her posters were stored, and the people that handle them, she'll tell you about some of that. It was tough going. But she's back in action again this year, and her poster, her new one, you'll see is Phoenix Rising is called. But she'll tell you about all of that. We'll chat with her right here by this wall in a couple of seconds from now. This is her 21st poster year. Now, our program around 2 o'clock, a few minutes from now, you're invited to see a screening in our audio-visual room, the conference room in the back by that exit sign. Okay? Come back there. There are chairs back there. Have a seat. Relax. And there's a film on Louisiana, on the Mardi Gras, and also on the Musicians Village. The jazz musicians are building a village down there with Habitat for Humanity. So you'll hear a piece on NBC, Brian Williams, in the back of the conference room. That's at 2 o'clock, okay? Not too long from now. Perry Quaranta of PQ Productions in Waldwick. And a look at some of the famous parades, the annual balls, costumes, the masks, the events, the traditions that shape the Big Easy Carnival. New Orleans. At the beginning of that screening, I'll tell you more of the history, bring you up to date on what they're saying down there in the Crescent City. If they indeed are they ready for this Mardi Gras after all that devastation? So we'll talk about that. At 3 o'clock, we'll venture into the book room for a live concert, traditional New Orleans jazz music, and I said live conference. So you're going to hear a banjo, a bass player, and another musician, the accordionist, just super guys. And I remember that, the old WNEW music with Willie B. and with Jazz Bo Collins. We used to play a lot of that years ago for some of you old timers. 3 o'clock, they're going to play for about an hour. And they're New Orleans musicians displaced by the ravages of Katrina, the hurricane. These chaps played at the top restaurants down there and the hotels. Guitar and banjoist David Bandrowski. And yes, they're going to play The Saints Go Marching In. Beautiful. It's a great tune. David has played with Dr. John, Natalie Merchant, Don Harrison, the Louisiana Philharmonic, and the Joe Simon Jazz Band. Rob Wagner is a clarinet player, Greg Schatz on bass, old Shatsy, and a portion of Andrea's poster sales goes to Habitat for Humanity's Musicians Village. More about that later. The guys will play until 4 o'clock. Then the favors and the giveaways, CDs available, poster signings. So if you're ready for the spirit of New Orleans, let's talk briefly to Andrea right over here. Andrea, come on over. Meet Andrea Mistretta. Say hello to her. Come on. 21 years.
The storm hit, but as the storm hit, I was in the middle of the painting called Lady Luck. I said, I can't go further with this one. And I just put my pen down, paints down, and that was it. But when I went to the Habitat for Humanity fundraiser in New York, called the Big Apple to the Big Easy, I don't know if anybody remembers that, at Madison Square Garden. My husband Perry is wearing a Big Apple to Big Easy shirt. Well, anyway, when I went there, I saw that my posters had been enlarged and put in the foyer when you go into Penn Station and Madison Square Garden. I said, I've got to do the poster again, you know, and with that, I went back to the drawing board and did Phoenix Rising. That's the one that you'll see here. I went back and I didn't know if I was going to actually have it published by my publishers because the warehouse and their headquarters were right in the upper 9th Ward district, and there's a lot of damage, you know, so I said, I'm going to do the poster anyway, if it's published or not. But they rose to the occasion, and they still are, you know, forging ahead with all that they've been through, and they produced the poster, and they're the Phoenix Rising. They're symbolic to me. My publisher, my friends in New Orleans, I've kept in close contact with, and so this is a tribute to them to New Orleans, and that's all I can say. Thank you for coming to see it.
Listen, I want to ask you a question. First of all, most of the people here know what a phoenix is. If not, tell them what a phoenix is. And we know it's phoenix rising. It's a bird, isn't it?
Okay, yeah.
The poster is right here on
Yeah,
the,
you'll see
it's the first one
what
right
is
here.
the Phoenix rising. There's several ancient tales about the Phoenix rising, that it was a bird, a mythic bird that rose from the ashes. There was a rebirth, and that's the symbol to this particular piece.
So it's a rebirth of New Orleans.
Yes, a hopeful
And your
bird.
publishers, Andrea, the Cunninghams.
Yes, Russell Cunningham.
You didn't have any original artwork down there.
No, none of the original has ever been to New Orleans. A lot of people are so surprised by that, especially if people think that I'm from New Orleans. Everything has been painted here right in Waldwick, and everything is still here in Waldwick. Has never been to New Orleans yet.
Now, some of your originals, however, are on the walls,
Yes.
hanging on the
Yeah.
walls. These are not originals.
These are the reproductions. These are posters throughout the years, and it's just a portion. We have 11 posters here, and we're making a rare appearance with the original art. The original art is never out to be shown, but 5 of them are here. One is in that room. We have a couple in the concert room, and one in the documentary room, where you'll see the film.
What are your, of course you're going down. You're going down.
Yes, I'll be going down on the 23rd, and I'll be seeing the 9th Ward district. You know, I'll be going to check on everything, you know, with my publisher. As a matter of fact, you'll see a little of that neighborhood on a little clip that we have on the NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams. You'll see with Harry Connick and the interview about what Habitat for Humanity is doing with the Musicians Village. He'll explain.
Now we'll explain that later for you. The Musicians Village, Habitat for Humanity, is also building other houses besides the musicians. But you'll be able to donate today if you like. And this is a library, but donate with your heart, please. You're an honorary citizen of New Orleans. The mayor at one time made you a citizen of New Orleans. Did you ever think your posters, which I'm certain are collectors, some of them are here now, would be the longest running consecutive series of prints, the most successful art licensing program in Mardi Gras history? And this lady right here. And your poster is always a face, if I look. It's always a face or a mask, like rendering, tying the carnival colors and season. The principal colors of the Mardi Gras. Tell us about the principal colors.
A little over 100 years ago, I forgot exact history on it, but the 3 colors symbolize faith, hope, and justice, and they're purple, gold, and green.
Purple, gold, and green.
So you'll see that dominates, you know, throughout the series, the purples, golds, and greens.
You know, I don't know if you saw the Wheel of Fortune about a month ago. Andrea's in November?
Yeah.
Okay, they shot some shows down there before the hurricane.
Just the week of the hurricane. As a matter of fact, they were going to do 2 weeks of shooting there, but they had to get out of town the first week because the hurricane hit. And but as a result, there was a week of you know, the sets with my posters behind it. I was like, you know, thrilled, calling everybody, "You got to see Wheel of Fortune tonight." Yeah.
I know that you've designed other items. I'm wearing one right now. If you look at this necktie, Andrea does a ton of things, labels on cans of commercial products and so forth. But she made these neckties, in what year was this?
About 10 years ago.
10 years ago, and there's all kinds of neckties, but if you look at this one right here, I'm standing in front of it. See the piano?
Yeah.
And here's the necktie. If you're looking at there's see the keyboard and that thing there? Just great, and I think I've worn this about twice.
And it's obvious that every poster is a variation of Andrea's own face.
Yes.
I know. You know, several people have said that, and it isn't. You know, I don't see it.
You don't know it.
No, each one is different, and there isn't a model. You know, they all vary, but they're all faces. That's what everybody wants. They say, stick with the faces, you know.
I can't really get away with talking with Andrea without mentioning her wonderful mom and dad. And I knew them both very, very well. Her dad was a silk screen artist here in Waldwick, and I'm sure that's how you got started years
Yes.
ago.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I've been to their home, and I've known Andrea and Perry for somewhere around 20 years now. So, but I just love the stories that come out of that, and for her to be associated with such a wonderful program. And they give her time and her talents. Her father was very, very talented, and they loved the dance. They loved the music, and the music of New Orleans, and they were so proud that Andrea was associated with that. Because I used to be at the station and played that music, and I used to bring him tape every once in a while when I went over to Perry's. But it's just a joy to see Andrea, and we're going to talk inside a little more before the film about today in New Orleans. You know, can you get a hotel room and all that? I have no association, no connection, but I'm working out of notes of what's going on down there now. How many hotels are open, and perhaps the restaurants you hear about, Emerald and all these things on TV. So I'll have some facts, very briefly, 5-10 minutes. Now, we're going to go to at 2 o'clock in about 15 minutes or so. You can look at our posters now, and then join us in the back room for the showing of the pictures. Now, Andrea, I always end an interview by saying, is there anything else you'd like to add? What'd we miss? Anything?
Well, I think you covered everything, but I would like to say thank you so much to the friends in the library and Pat Boyd. She's been terrific in planning everything here, and also for the support of my husband Perry and my family, my sisters and my nieces, and just thank them, and that's about it. It's all I can think of.
Okay, in 15 minutes, the screening room. In the meantime, take a look at some posters in here. Thank you. Very, very good. I'll see you in a second back in the room.
Will there be a Mardi Gras this year?
Yes.
There is going to be scale animals.
And I think that actually having a scenario where musicians can, for a change, actually own their homes, and it sets a really great precedent. And musicians have an ability to
Joan's around the corner there. She's helping the kids with the beads a little bit. That's right through there. You can see the under the fire alarm. She's being tried to frame. Amazing how they can take an artist's space,
emailed you. I saw you're going to be here today. I lived there for a number of years, and I wanted to see if you came from both sides.
Wow, you're losing it. So we're just gonna wear them all, especially Kelsey and Haley.
Yeah, luckily I saw the newspaper. Yeah, we'll get together.
Her husband Bob, in fact, before we got married, the whole downstairs of the house is done in Mardi Gras with your photo.
James, I have 10 of my
Nice to meet you.
Tone of voice. I know a lot of the folks have said we didn't hear the interview with Andrea up front, and I'm sorry for all of that, and I apologize. But I'd like to get on with this program of Mardi Gras. Because someone just asked me outside, are they going to have it this year? I mean, is it really they're going to move ahead with this? And a few brief facts about the Mardi Gras that I found out this year. I thought I'd pass it along to you before this movie begins. Come on in, folks, or if you can find a seat around. I understand there's going to be, first of all, 50 parades this year. 50. Now that's not too many in Mardi Gras' stature. This is the 150th anniversary of the event. It began in 1857. The French colonists introduced it in America, feasting, dancing, parading. And I read on the web on computer that the local citizens who have braved Katrina and the disaster are desperately ready to let off steam. Got it? Yeah. They're seeing people come back to their city, whether it's still devastated or not. They're going down there and they're ready to kind of have a party. And because it all started down there, they want to continue it. So there's a spirit. And that's where Andrea Mistretta came up with this theme of the spirit of the Mardi Gras this year, with Phoenix Rising, that they're coming back from the ashes of that terrible destruction. So this could be the Mardi Gras of ages. Yes, there is one this year. And like the former newsman that I am, I've checked out several other things. For instance, the Marriott hotel chain has 14 hotels in New Orleans, and Mark Sanders of the Marriott says they're all open except one, the Ritz-Carlton. Now, this is not to say that all the motels and all the smaller hotels that were in that 9th Ward and destroyed are ready to open, because they're not. And I don't want to pass along words and steer you wrong. I'm just quoting the guy from the Marriott. He says it's really a chance to really let the people know that we're open again. And I have no time with the Chamber of Commerce or anything down there. I mean, this city has been through it. We've all seen the pictures on television. But the hotel people say when you get in the downtown area, the downtown area of New Orleans, and you may have seen this on television, it's not that bad in through there. And the French Quarter was spared, the famous French Quarter, the Garden District. Some of the major attractions are okay, like the D-Day Museum, the Café du Monde, long ago reopened, Harrah's Casino, the gambling casino. Guess when they're going to open? You got it, February 17th. They'll be open for Mardi Gras this year. What about the big food restaurants we hear about? Most of the big name eateries, K. Paul's, Louisiana Kitchen, the Galatori, Galatory, Galatory is correct. Emeralds, of course, back in action, with the exception of the Commander's Palace, not open. You know that Cajun cooking down there, I can smell it now. Creole, king cakes, jambalaya, crawfish pie, and a filet gumbo. But the big staple, red beans and you got it. And the parades, 8 days of parades. I told you how many there were going to be. 6 months after the big hurricane, the celebration is February 18th through 28th. 8 days of parades instead of the usual 2 weeks. So they've cut back to keep costs down, of course, in the city and the cleanup and so forth. Parade routes have been shortened. The tourist districts are ready. Now, they had a storm down there about 2 days ago, I heard. That part of the airport, the Louis Armstrong Airport, I think part of the roof and so forth. So they've had some more devastation to deal with. But I understand they're ready and they're very anxious. And King Rex, Perry Corons, is going to be ready with this movie in a second. But I want you to meet somebody that I'm very, very happy with. Andrea, come on up here again. And bring Pat along with you.
Pat? Oh,
Pat, is
just
Pat?
here.
Come on, Pat. Pat is the library director. Patricia Boyd. She's been just marvelous. Come here again, Andrea. Some of the folks didn't hear us as we chat. Come on, Pat. Come on up here and stand beside me. This is Patricia Boyd, the library director, who's done a wonderful job in this community and putting this together with Andrea. Please welcome. I spoke with Andrea outside, and I'll speak with her again in a moment, but I want to introduce Pat Boyd to say a few words. Pat, can you tell us, I'm talking about being in touch with them now, Habitat for Humanity, and you spoke to them today or yesterday?
Yes, just last night. I wanted to give you the latest up-to-the-minute report on what is happening with the Musicians Village. So I called at 5 o'clock yesterday and spoke with Casey Adams, who is a real estate planner with Habitat for Humanity in New Orleans. And I asked him specifically about the Musicians Village project. So he was more than happy to guide me through a Google Map search of a satellite view of the Musicians Village. And it is going to be built on an 8-acre parcel in the upper 9th Ward. Now, the lower 9th Ward was the part of New Orleans that was so devastated. The upper 9th was flooded but not completely ruined. So he said that the center will consist of a performing arts center and 81 houses. 74 will be single-family houses, and there will be 7 for that will be elder-friendly doubles, or what we would know as duplexes. The Performing Arts Center will be named after Ellis Marsalis, the famous teaching musician. And for those who are familiar with New Orleans, he told me it would be a center hall from the curb with a big front porch. And it will feature a performance area, classrooms, practice rooms, and a kitchen. So the whole idea of the village is to persuade especially low-income musicians to return to the city and offer them a place to live, because they feel that without its music, New Orleans just will not make this recovery. So the construction of the first 35 houses is expected to begin in March. It all depends on the street paving. They can't build homes until there are streets there, so they're waiting for the first street to go in, and then the houses will be built by volunteers. And as is traditional with Habitat for Humanity construction, the owner of the house, the future owner of the house, is supposed to provide sweat equity, which is usually actually building with hammers and nails. But in the case of the musicians, their sweat equity will probably be offered in the form of performing music in and around the city. So it's a very exciting prospect, especially for musicians with qualifying income levels. And there's no down payment for them. They just have to do this performing in order to participate in the program. So we're very thrilled that you're with us today. Throughout the library, there are signs on how to make contributions to Habitat for Humanity in New Orleans. And if you would like to, you can make a designation on your check for the Musicians Village. You would just write that on the memo line. If you'd like, you can leave a check here with the library and we will forward it to them, or there are envelopes positioned near the signs, then you can take one home and send your check in directly from home. So thank you very much for being here and for celebrating Andrea's work with us and for helping the city of New Orleans make a recovery. Thank you very much.
Anything you'd like to add? Thank you, Pat. I know you have other things. You folks will have to kind of, are there more folks waiting in line there?
We're telling them that there will be a second screening of the show.
Oh, great.
Right.
Okay, then they'll
So you
be able
can
to see
begin.
that. We're going to have see two. Actually, we're going to see the NBC thing with Brian Williams, which is only about 5-6 minutes. Gary, 4 minutes, and then we'll see a thing on the Mardi Gras. But for the poster and for the honorary citizen of New Orleans, Andrea Mistretta, we mentioned outside that Andrea's poster this year is called Phoenix Rising. And I asked her, what is a phoenix bird? Because I didn't know what a phoenix bird was. And I guess I should have, but it's the spirit, is it not, Andrea? You were working on something else which was a theme.
It's symbolic of the spirit. It's derived from a mythical creature and a story that tells of a mythical bird that arises from the ashes, from ruin into a rebirth. And that's what I was seeing as the rebirth of many of my friends that had, been through the tragedy of losing their homes. As a matter of fact, my publisher completely lost his home in Pass Christian, wiped away, but his spirit was just something I can only appreciate. And I saw him and his family as the spirits rising from the ruin, because they're forging ahead and moving on, and with a bright spirit, they were calling it their evacation rather than evacuation, so, they have that kind of attitude, but that's where that.
You were working on a poster called Lady Luck.
Yeah, ironically.
Sure, so that was
during the storm, or just before the storm, I had started the 2006 poster with a Lady Luck theme. Thought it'd be kind of fun and clever with the card theme, and then when that storm hit, I said, this is wrong. Lady Luck, not this year. Hopefully in the future it'll be lucky, but
Andrea, I asked, forgive me, but I asked you outside about whether you had any original art, because I know you have some originals hanging, and the other are posters. You don't have any art down. You didn't lose any art down.
No, none of the original art. Posters were lost, some of them to mold and the flood. But the original art has never been to New Orleans. For the past 21 years, it's always been here, remained here, and created in Waldwick, New Jersey. So, this is one of the originals, so it's a rare appearance.
I mean, do you see it when you look at that? I don't know, I do. I see your face in it.
I don't see it.
It's okay to say yes.
One of Andrea's ties I'm wearing, and it's got, if you look, there's a piano keyboard. What year was this when you?
That was 96.
1996, there's one hanging out there, and if you look at that, you'll see the keyboard in that.
What do you use for your paint and your colors, or is that pastel?
No, this is all, it's airbrushed with acrylics.
Acrylics and airbrush.
Yes. As a matter of fact, outside I have near the posters, there's a book that will show a step-by-step process of how they were created. If you want to see that.
Be interesting. And for you youngsters, you ought to take a look at that book too of Andrea's, okay? It'll show you how she does these pictures. There's a lot more to this than meets the eye, friends, of consecutive years. Andrea does a lot of other products at Christmas time. I've seen a lot of other things you've worked on.
people see.
They've seen a lot of these things hanging in Waldwick, Santa Clauses and so forth. I first met Andrea, what, 20 years ago or something? About 20 years ago.
Yes.
And Andrea was working on a Santa Claus face, and I said, you know, I'm a big Italian guy. You don't want a Santa Claus with, you know, the chubby and and she said, no, I want your eyes. Did you say that?
Your eyes. He had the smiling eyes, and I did a painting from a photograph that Perry had taken of Mike, and that was what my most popular Santa painting. Some people make it happen in their homes. It was on a bag, like one of those little gift bags.
I knew I'd end up on a
my
bag.
inspiration.
No, but she's a great guy for creating things besides neckties, and you've done some beer can lately?
Yeah. Well, I've done because of New Orleans and Mardi Gras, and you know, a lot of people like to drink beer during Mardi Gras. But Miller Brewing Company, Budweiser, and Heineken have worked with. I've worked with them on creating campaigns of art for their advertising. And it's an assortment of things that I've done with art, and I've been lucky to keep on doing it, all these years.
Now, is there any, let's have some quick questions. I know these people want to see this, and quick questions. Anybody have questions for Andrea? Here's one right here.
I'd like to know, do you think Lady Luck might ever come to be one day?
I hope so. We'll see what happens, because if New Orleans gets lucky with Habitat and the musicians start to come back and I start feeling that feeling again, we'll have Lady Luck for sure.
When do you start? When do you start working on these?
In the summer.
Summertime.
Usually the summer, midsummer.
Okay. Question?
Yeah, just a question. Once you do the pencil sketch,
Yes.
I noticed that, is it true that you start on the eyes first as far
I
as
do.
the coloring
Yes.
goes?
Yeah. For some reason, I connect with the painting almost like a being. You look at the eyes. You look at someone. You look at their eyes. And I think that's the thing that may appeal to a lot of people and why it's had such longevity, because people kind of connect and go right to the eyes. And that's where I start.
Anybody else? There's a question. This little girl has a question.
Usually, why do you do New Orleans if you're not from New Orleans?
Why? Because I love this place, or that place. Yeah, I'm inspired by New Orleans because it's always been a place that's been accepting of all kinds of art, especially the musical arts, visual and musical. But that's where the original American art form of jazz was born. And there's just something about the place that's inspiring, and that's why I pay tribute to doing a New Orleans poster.
She's an honorary citizen, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
Honorary citizen. I
that.
mentioned that very. And this is 21 consecutive years. And Andrea has a lot of people do a lot of artwork down there.
Yes.
This is the one for 20 years, consecutive years. What's that title of?
Well,
I had it written down. Now this is 20 years.
well, 21 years?
21 years, but there's something that goes with that. I misplaced it now.
I don't know.
I'm modest, you do know. And I'll tell you what it is. The longest running consecutive series of prints and the most successful art licensing programs in Mardi Gras history. That's you mentioned something about, we were talking about a little nip in the library, but afterwards, red beans and rice we discussed too. There's a place.
Well, there's a little old place down the street called the Prospect Tavern. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Hold your ears, kids.
Amsterdam. It's right down East Prospect Street. It's actually West Prospect Street, but it's near the train station, before the train station. And as tradition is in New Orleans, many pubs, taverns will have complimentary red beans and rice. You pay for the beverages and just come on in and have red beans and rice. And they'll be serving that afterward, like from 4 o'clock on. Just stop on in if you want to continue the party and have a little red beans and rice.
We decorated it like a New Orleans traditional pub.
There's something about the place that's has the character.
There's the man who sampled. Any other questions for Andrea? Take one more question. Anybody? Okay, let's get Andrea. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to get on. First film you're going to see is 4 minutes long only. It's Brian Williams at NBC. Remember, we thought we'd bring you up to date on this little insert. Mary, you ready to roll this? Sure. Turn the lights off.
Finally tonight, a word about why we're here while we've continued, of course, to update the long road back to recovery for this area. On this trip, we're here following some musicians who had an idea. Why not come up with the money and build a neighborhood? Why wait for FEMA or the feds to do all the work? Why not get some generous people and some lumber and start building? It is a planned community the size of 5 city blocks, a musician's village.
4 minute piece I told you about. Nice, very, very nice. And that's being, there's point of purchase monitors outside, but this is being shown over and over again on the loop. It will be shown here again also before we're going to get on with the Louisiana and the Mardi Gras film in just a second. I'd like to remind you about those donations again. I mean, and you know, you hear donations all the time and people have said, oh boy, it's over and over, I'm up to here and that, but that's what it's all about. You know, I mean, and certainly the music, I remember and you remember, Louis Armstrong, when the Saints go marching in, when all these great musicians came out of the South, including guys like Harry Connick Jr. now, and the Marcellus. All you have to do is go across the river and you'll see the results of that in the great music coming out of up at Lincoln Center now. I mean, there's a great deal of the music around. WBGO radio has a lot. But the traditional jazz music, and you're going to hear several of those musicians today, starting very shortly at 3 o'clock. They're going to play for an hour. They are displaced out of New Orleans. So they're here, and I was told they're not going to say too much. They're here to play. So you'll hear a little bit about that traditional music. And it's Dixieland. Dixieland is this is traditional New Orleans jazz. Barry, you ready? Lights. Lights, and this is the Louisiana area, and I think you'll enjoy it. Thank As I mentioned, some of the music will begin at 3 o'clock, and it's going to be repeated.
Anybody here tell me what happened to the area of the rice fields or to the swamps?
You did?
That's not too much.
I did, and I went on that.
Think that's going to return?
I'm not sure.
Thank you very much, folks. This will be repeated.
Well, I was there, so it must be, yeah.
The Musicians Village, Habitat for Humanity is the name of the game with our musicians. And these chaps are from New Orleans, displaced at the hurricane. They're out there. Give a nice welcome. Now, I'll tell you a little more about them because the band is the Bandrowski Band. Correct, guys? Bandrowski. And that, I'm looking at David. David with his banjo, and these other guys here are friends from the group. David's plays guitar and banjo, Rob Wagner on clarinet, saxophone, tenor sax. This is Rob here. And Greg Shatsy on bass with a funny hat there. Anyway, these guys are going to make some music for you, and very traditional music. I was told that maybe this isn't just Dixieland. We just saw a film in there where everything from Louisiana goes down there. Not only the Dixie that we know up north, but the traditional music of New Orleans. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome David Bandrowski's group from New Orleans.
Go for it. One more.
I don't know. Mommy, I'm gonna go. Mommy, I'm gonna go cheese. Right in here. Mom, can I go follow that music?
Oh, I think there's a printer right there. How many pieces do you need?
Just one or two.
It's the same price, 10 cents a
Well, once you get your sign ready, oh, she's right over there. She's right here.
Carrie, how are you? How you been? Remember Debbie? Her wedding?
Okay. We're having another party.
Hey, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
What?
Next week.
Yes, yes.
Okay, right there.
For a newspaper?
Right on the poster. This one is signed right here. I did pre-sign some of them ahead of time. You can see.
Oh, here you go. Yeah, sure.
This one's already signed, Ed. Yeah, that's already signed. Okay, but she wanted a picture though together. You know what I'm gonna do? I've been writing to some people, you know, here, so I'm gonna do that.
Planned community the size of 5 cities.
Just for the picture. Hold on 1 second. Here we go.
They may go down as the men who murdered New Orleans native Harry Connick Jr. His friends
Did you enjoy the music?
It's great.